Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am, of course, the True Demon Lord, Franco. And today we're going to be talking about 5 Chaos Demon rules people get wrong. And this could be anything to do with stratagems, demon interactions with the core mechanics of the game, or datasheet abilities, as well as detachment, army stuff, and all that kind of things. These are rules that I've seen gotten wrong with my own eyes, playing every game of 10th edition that I have, and at this point, quite a few hundreds of 10th edition games. And every single one of them with demons, I have, of course, encountered the mirror many, many, many times. And I have had some rules played wrong against me, so of course, which I know they are being played wrong. Um, Also, from hearing from teammates as well as friends that have played into demons, they've been recounting the game, and when they talk about a certain interaction, I'm like, yeah, that's not how that works. Or maybe they have caught it because, again, either having played the matchup a few times or knowing me and me talking about it, they've been able to catch it. So this is going to hopefully help anyone that is unsure on certain rules interactions, or maybe if you're listening to this and you've got those rules wrong, you can then use this to not get them wrong anymore. And of course, as much as it pains me, we have a lot of non-demon playing scumbags that watch this video or these videos. I have a few people tell me, oh, like I struggle with the demon matchup, and I've used some of the things you've said and used them in those games, or having an idea what to watch out for, and it's helped them. So as much as we hate it, for you people that are non-demon players watching this is something to help you watch out for certain rules and interactions being played wrong as well. So we're going to get straight into it, and we're going to go with the one that I find is the most common one, at least in my experience, and that's demonic invulnerability. So demonic invulnerability is a stratagem, 1 CP, that you use in the shooting phase. That's the key, in the shooting phase. When one of your units is targeted by a range attack, you use the stratagem, and for the rest of the phase, that unit can reroll invulnerable saving throws of 1. Now, the thing here is it is shooting phase exclusive. You cannot use it in the fight phase. And I have encountered this quite a few times in the mirror match. Like I couldn't tell you how many mirror matches I've played, but it's actually insane how many times I've gone into combat. Say, let's use a real example that I had. She actually was going into a bloodthirster. I go to start making her attacks. My opponent's like, cool, I'm going to spend a CP on demonic invulnerability, to which I say, no, you're not. And it is a weird interaction because, when they use it, they believe, why not? Yes, I am. I'm definitely going to do that. I'm like, no, because you can't. And then once they realize after reading it, oh, can't actually do it. It's like, I've used that a fair few times in the fight phase. Like, yeah, that's not good. I've also had a friend and tell me, they almost won the game, but because of that stratagem, demonic invulnerability, in the fight phase, they managed to reroll 2 1s, which allowed them to keep something alive, which then swung the game by points. Just for them to find out, no, that was illegal. They couldn't do that. So yes, it's a simple one, but it's, in my opinion, the most common I've heard and seen. So please stop getting that wrong. Demonic invulnerability only in the shooting phase. It's still a great strength. I still love demonic invulnerability on the ground, clean one on Shalaxi, even on Battlecore. It is just really nice on the 4-1 being able to reroll those ones. So the next one we're going to get into is how the Battle Shock debuffs from the Shadows of Chaos works and interaction with that. So while an enemy unit is within your army Shadow of Chaos, whenever they take a Battle Shock test, they are -1 to that Battle Shock test. And they also take D3 mortal wounds, but that's not what we're talking about here. We are talking specifically about the -1 debuff. Now, I have seen, or more specifically heard, this interaction. Never have I obviously had it come up because I've never used it, and in the mirrors it's not come up either. But I have heard someone again fall foul of this, and that is the demon player or demon players using that -1 battle shock to affect certain leadership tests. For example, dark packs from Chaos Space Marines, or probably a more common one, Scarbrand. When an enemy unit wants to fall back from him, they must take a leadership test or they can't. I have specifically had, again, another friend try to fall back from Scarbrand, they've said you're within my shadow of chaos, so you've -1, and they failed it because of the -1. Now, this -1 is specifically on Battle Shock tests. Leadership tests, which are rare, but anything that says test on your leadership or take a leadership test or roll 2d6 and beat your leadership, basically, if it doesn't say Battle Shock and it says leadership, the debuff does not affect it. If it is specifically a Battle Shock test, then it will affect it. It doesn't matter what it's for. So that's a common, I say it's a common one. It's one I've heard a few times, but it's not enough to say it's a really common thing. But it is one of those niche ones that can come up and can be a bit devastating should you fall foul of it. The next one we're going to talk about is Be'lakor's Wreathed in Shades ability. So Wreathed in Shades is the only real good one of Be'lakor's pick 1 of 3 at the beginning of a battle round ability. And it's his 6-inch, lone operative 18 bubble. Now, the way it works is while a friendly unit is within 6 inches of Be'lakor, friendly demon unit, obviously, that unit can only be targeted by range attacks from enemy. Now, here's the keyword: enemy models within 18 inches, not to units. Now, I've had this come up a few times. I've seen it also come up a few times. So, for example, if you got your opponent has a unit of, I don't know, like broadsides, let's say, and one of them is within 18 inches of 6 blood crushes, but one of them isn't. The one that is within 18 can shoot, the one that isn't cannot shoot. Now, I've had people, say, oh, one of my guys is within 18, so I can shoot with everything. And I'm like, no, show them the rule. And they're like, that's fair enough. It works the same way as Lone Up does as well. Unfortunately, I've walked past a table. I get quite nosy when I'm not playing at events. If I finish my game early and I see demon players, I like to watch the demon games, see how the lists are getting on. And I've seen someone measure range from one guy be just within 18 of a unit within 6 of the Be'lakor and go, oh, I'm within 18, and there's fire all the guys, and the demon player, unfortunately, being a bit oblivious and being like, oh, okay, you're within 18. And obviously, where I'm not involved in the game, it is not my place to get involved or say anything. So I, of course, don't. But it is heart wrenching to see something like that. So, yes, Wreathed in Shades, models with an 18, not unit. So, the next one we're going to be talking about is Mischief Makers, which is the Nurglin's 6-inch aura of -1 to hit in melee for non-vehicle, non-monster units. So, this is a bit of a weird one because it does have a contradiction to the Fiends. So the Fiends obviously have an aura that is pretty much the same, except it has a little bit extra to it, which is also a -1 to hit inside 6 inches for melee. But the Fiend specifically interacts with, does exclude, vehicles and Titanic. So theirs does affect monsters, whereas Nurglings don't affect monsters nor vehicles. Now, unfortunately, again, I've had this come into play where even I had people tell me, like, I've had Be'lakor going into something around Nurglings, and they've gone, oh, you're -1 to hit because of the Nurglings. I'm like, no, he's a monster. He doesn't get affected by it. Unfortunately, I didn't have a full-blown argument because I didn't argue, but I had another demon player get quite angsty at me because I told them no, Be'lakor, or it was Shalaxi. I was like, Shalaxi doesn't take the -1 from the Nurglings. And they were very adamant, yes, she does. And so the easiest way to cut that out is to just get the rule up on the app, show them, or get the data card out and show them whatever way. Unfortunately, this player just didn't want to accept it, saying that yes, it can, and that's why I was like, did you confuse it with the Fiends? Because the Fiends do affect monsters. But yes, so that was an interesting interaction. Again, it's another one that I've heard people say about the Nurglings making their monsters or their vehicles -1 to hit. And I'm like, doesn't affect monsters and vehicles. And again, my friends going, oh, like that was massive. And I'm like, yeah, it probably was. So yes, Nurglings only affect well, they don't affect vehicles or monsters, but the fiends do affect monsters. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. And then the last one we're going to talk about. So this is more specifically an interaction with a core stratagem. And we're going to be talking about the Shadows of Chaos, more specifically the Warp Rift's detachment ability. So our detachment ability lets us come down wholly within the Shadows of Chaos from Deep Strike, and come down 6 inches away rather than 9 inches away from enemy units. Now, obviously, that's absolutely amazing, um, but something is quite hard to do while dropping in the middle because, again, your opponent can just stop that by taking you off one of those 2 or half objectives that you're on in the middle. So the best way to kind of do it is use your shadows, bubbles from your greater demons and Bellicor. But a interesting little trick that I love to use is in my movement phase, getting onto 2 of the objectives, or if there's 3 or 4, whatever there is in the middle, getting onto half or more of them basically, and then popping shadows up, and then at the start of your opponent's movement phase, because you are on half or more of those no man's land objectives, for the rest of the phase, that will keep the shadows up. So here's a little interesting interaction. When you use rapid ingress, you can come down using reserves as if it was your turn. So when you come down using deep strike, because at the start of the phase of your opponent's movement phase, you did control half or more of the objectives, you can look solely within that shadow, therefore coming down 6 more away using rapid ingress. Now that is incredibly strong. And I get it feels bad. That's why when I'm telling my opponent, do you know how my shadows of chaos work with my deep strikes? And if they say yes, I know you can 6-inch deep strike, I say that class is my turn, your turn. They say yes. If my opponent doesn't seem too sure, I will explain it to them. I will also be sure to point out I can rapid ingress 6 inches away if the shadows are up. And that's it. I leave it there. I don't want to catch people out, but I will give you it once. If you ask about it, I'll tell you about it again. If you forget about it, you know, it is what it is. But I have had an opponent where he told me he knew all the tricks with shadows and the demon stuff. So I was like, fine, cool. If you know it, I don't want to, chew your ear off with information you already know. And then I've done that trick. I love that trick with, I think it was with Blood Crushers. I dropped down on the other side of the wall so they couldn't be shot. And the unit that could maybe charge them didn't want to charge them because they were going to get killed. um, and so I did it. I measured 6 inches away. It meant my Blood Crushers then come around the wall and have a nice charge into another important unit that was behind the other unit. And my opponent wasn't too happy about it. Asking like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, because of the shadows. They told me it doesn't work like that because it's a different phase. Which I'm like, no, it's still your movement phase. And yes, we had again a little bit of a disagreement. Judges ruled it, it is clear. Start of the phase, shadows is until the end of the phase. Oh, the phase is over. It is when you rapid ingress, you're still coming in during the phase, even if it's towards the end of it or the end of it. So therefore, you can still 6-inch deep strike using rapid ingress in your opponent's turn. It is a nasty little combo, right? Because it can be a gotcha. Again, that's why I make sure to always ensure my opponent knows. And actually, since that game, I've been even more clearer. Even if my opponent goes, I know exactly what it does. Unless it's someone who I know does know it, whether it's like a really top player, someone else that plays demons, or someone who I know, like personally, that knows me and played against me, or we've had these conversations. I do make sure to, even if they go, yeah, I know the tricks. I'm like, okay, I can rapid ingress using 6. And if they go, okay, cool, and I'm like, fine. I've had it a few times where my opponent goes, I didn't even think of that. I'm like, yes. So it is always good to put those things out. You don't want gotchas. They feels bad. If you tell your opponent, then they forget about it. That is different. There's nothing you can do about that. It isn't the opponent's job to remind you of everything, and I don't want to. If I forget something, that is on me. And so it is what it is. So those are 5, in my opinion, from me personally, common or at least mostly common rules that I see people get wrong or interactions that I see people not doing properly for demons. So those are things that if you maybe do, maybe don't do anymore. But if it's things that you come up in your games, even in the mirror matches, you know how to approach it, you know kind of how they work. So thank you for tuning in. As always, please leave a like and subscribe. It takes a few seconds and it helps the channel out massively. We are seeing if we can get to that 1,000 mark by the end of the year. It's going to be an ask, but let's see if we can do it. That means 1,000 subscribers in less than a year would be absolutely insane and amazing. And then obviously go check out Facebook and Instagram, True Demon Lord, obviously, where you can keep up to date with everything True Demon Lord, everything me, as we go closer to LGT, and then beyond that, Atlanta for World Championships 40K. So thank you for tuning in. We will catch you all in the next one.